Okay, what were we speaking about? Here you see the line, that is the plot of these lines. Say the plot of total pressure, that is total pressure plot depends on which one now? P1 and P2, isn't it? So the plot of, that is the graph of P total can increase or decrease depending on the component 1. If component 1 is more, how the graph will be? This will be greater. This curve will be greater. So from there P total will be connected here. Yes. That means total pressure can increase or decrease depending on component 1. That is one more conclusion drawn. That is graph or say plot of P total may increase or decrease depending on concentration of component 1. Hope I am not confusing. If you increase the concentration of X1, say the total pressure also may increase or decrease. That is what is told. These were the general conclusions drawn related to this particular Raoult's law. What does Raoult's law state? It states that the partial vapor pressure of any of one of the components, or say the components, are directly proportional to its mole fraction. So if you take total pressure, you get an expression this way, which means that just by considering one component also, you can know the total pressure of the solution. And then using this, when a graph is plotted of P total versus X2, we get a graph this way, where the line, that is the curve for component 1 is also linear, the curve for the component 2 is also linear, and total pressure can be obtained by taking sum of these two curves. The other conclusions are, see, you can see the point at which P1 crosses P2. The point at which P1 crosses P2, that means at this point the sum of their mole fractions will be 1. When you add the mole fraction of 2, x1 plus x2, at this point x1 plus x2 will be equal to 1. That is what it means. So these many things you need to understand here. Let us see the remaining concepts from this. And one point that you need to remember is, at equilibrium, just make a note of it, okay? At equilibrium, you know which component will be more in the vapor phase? Vapor phase, you know. Liquid phase means which stays in the liquid. Vapor phase means which has evaporated and has formed the vapors above. So which component will be more in the vapor phase? The component that is more volatile will be rich in the that is vapor phase. At equilibrium, the component that is more volatile will be rich in the vapor phase of solution. Vapor phase of solution. Why I am writing each and every sentence, or I am repeating, is because few maybe you do not have the textbook, and that is why, so that it becomes easy for you to note down the class points. Hope you have noted, and if you have textbook, you can also refer your textbook and note, so that the formation of statements you can understand in a better way. Do not complicate the statements when you write. Write in a simpler words, but the terms must be proper there. And one request is that please go through every class point every day. That is, make a habit of revising the concepts you have studied earlier as well. Don't just keep it away telling that you have written some test or something like that. Keep revising. and keep studying so that you will understand it better. Now let us see Raoult's law. Next heading, Raoult's law as a special case of Henry's law. This is why I said that I'll be explaining about the relationship between two laws later. What you have studied in Raoult's law, for two volatile liquids, for liquid solutions, that is two volatile liquids, what was told? For two volatile liquids, the partial pressure, say in general if I say the partial pressure of I component, I'll take. Partial pressure of one component is directly proportional to its mole fraction in the solution for the volatile liquids. Yes? Then what was told? Again it was told, okay, that implies what? Pi is equal to Pi naught Xi. This was the relationship. This is Raoult's law. What about Henry's law? In Henry's law, what was told? In Henry's law, or say according to Henry's law, that is for gas in liquids. Gas in liquids. In this you see, here they have told two volatile liquids. Both are volatile. But what about gas in liquids? One component is so volatile that it is in the gaseous state itself. Are you getting the point? Here both are volatile liquids. Same theory are almost the same. What is the difference? Here it is for liquid solution, that is both liquid. Here gas in liquid. What is the difference? Here it is liquid solution. Here it is gas in liquid solution. And here one component is so volatile that it is in the gaseous state itself. Now what has been told? So it is given as partial pressure is directly proportional to mole fraction, we said, of gas is proportional to mole fraction in the solution, or it was given as P is equal to KH into X, that is mole fraction. P is partial vapor pressure and X is mole fraction. KH is Henry's constant. Now compare these two. Comparing 1 and 2, if you compare 1 and 2, everything is same. Partial pressure is directly proportional to mole fraction. Here also partial pressure directly proportional to mole fraction. The difference is in the constant values. That is the only difference is the value of KH and Pi naught. That is KH is equal to Pi naught. Therefore, we say Raoult's law is a special case of Henry's law. Hope it is clear now. That's it about Raoult's law being a special case of Henry's law, because in these two you do not find any difference. Instead, any difference in the sense, I have told you this is for liquid solution, this is for gas and liquid solution. Here partial pressure is directly proportional to mole fraction. Even here also partial pressure is proportional to mole fraction. But here KH is equal to Pi naught, which is a special case. And I have told you, isn't it, how KH value, it depends on the nature of gas. It is for the particular gas you have different KH values. For a particular gas, it has its own KH value. For another, if you take It has its KH value. Next is this was about liquid solutions. Next is next heading, vapor pressure of solids in liquids. Vapor pressure of solids in liquids. What does this mean? This means again it is a liquid solution, but how a liquid solution is prepared? Solvent is liquid, but the solute is solid. Here solvent is liquid, but the solute that you are adding is solid. This has been added. Solid is added to a liquid solvent. We'll consider the two cases here. This means it is a closed container. I'll use two different colors to tell you that one is a pure solvent. This is a pure solvent here. Pure solvent means, say for example, example for solid in liquid, you say sugar solution, sugar dissolved in water, or say urea solution, urea dissolved in water, or say sodium chloride solution, sodium chloride dissolved in water. So let us take water alone. If water is alone, that means on the surface only water molecules will be present, isn't it? Only solvent molecules will be present. Okay. Now let me give some examples. Examples for solids in liquid solutions are sodium chloride or sucrose or urea dissolved in water, or say iodine or sulfur dissolved in carbon disulfide. Carbon disulfide is a solvent. This also can be the example. Carbon disulfide. These are examples. Now if you consider any of these examples, a simple one, let us say sodium chloride. Okay, whatever I am explaining applies to all of these. Out of that, let us say we consider sodium chloride. I'll just mention solute and solvent, so you need to understand what it is. What is the solute here? Solute is sodium chloride. Solvent is water. I'm just giving you an example. Water. Now you see what happens to the vapor phase. The pressure exerted by the vapor phase of the liquid you know what is a vapor phase? At equilibrium, the pressure exerted by the vapors on the liquid phase. On the liquid phase, the pressure exerted by the vapors that has been formed. Equilibrium always can be attained only in a closed container. In a closed container. If it is open, then with whole universe it tries to attain equilibrium. Are you getting? So we can consider a closed container. At equilibrium, the vapors will be produced. The vapors, if you just keep a glass of water, cover it with a lid, just check it out after few hours, do you see water droplets form in the lid? I'm telling you that you need not only heat it, but due to temperature changes, evaporation takes place. That is what I mean to say now. So in a closed container, vapors will be produced. That vapors will start exerting pressure at equilibrium. Now that is called as vapor. That is vapor pressure, we say. The pressure exerted by the vapors on the surface of the liquid is called as vapor pressure. Now what we have to understand is, see, in the beginning, at a particular temperature, in a pure liquid, this is a pure liquid, that means say water you consider, this is a solution. At a particular temperature, what happens? If you observe, all the solvent molecules has occupied the surface. That means this is all solvent itself, only solvent is present, and the molecules of it has occupied the surface. So how do you say? At a particular temperature, in a pure liquid, only solvent molecules are occupied on the surface of the liquid. So what happens now? These are all volatile. Volatile means they try to evaporate. So all these molecules, they evaporate, and their molecules can be found in the vapor state. Right? In the vapor state, you can see the molecules of it being formed. So that means vapor pressure will be high. And here, say, the solvent molecules occupy the surface of the liquid, and the vapor pressure is only, that is solely we say, or say only, due to the solvent molecules. Understand it. It's nice if you understand. So only solvent molecule is responsible for the vapor phase. Next, if you consider solution, in solution what do you have? You have both solute as well as solvent, isn't it? This is sodium chloride solution. In this you have both solute as well as solvent. Say solute, I will denote it by this color. You have both solute as well as solvent. As well as solvent molecules present in the solution, isn't it? Now on the surface of the liquid, if you observe, what can you see? You can see both solvent molecules as well as solute particles, right? Solute particles. Now before writing the explanation for this, you can explain this part, like at a particular temperature in a pure liquid, only the solvent molecules occupy the surface of the liquid, and the vapor pressure produced is only due to the solvent molecules. Now this part you will explain. When a non-volatile electrolyte, non-volatile solute is added to the solvent, then what happens? When a non-volatile, see they have mentioned here as non-volatile. Non-volatile means what? Which cannot evaporate. So here sodium chloride, say for example, the solute cannot evaporate. Only solvent will be evaporating. So this also will result in vapor phase. Yes, they also try to attain equilibrium. It also tries to take the vapor phase or have the vapor phase there. Now what happens? See, the fraction of molecules, if you consider in the pure solvent and the solution, the fraction of solvent molecule is less. That means the vapor pressure also will be less compared to the pure solvent. So if they ask you why the vapor phase of pure solvent is more and vapor, that is vapor pressure I mean to say, I'm sorry, vapor pressure of pure solvent is more than vapor pressure of solution, your answer must be because here you will explain when a non-volatile solute is added to the solvent, again the vapor pressure will be only due to solvent molecules, will be only due to solvent molecules, as the fraction of molecules, as the fraction of solvent molecules in pure liquid is more on the surface of the liquid, vapor pressure is more. That means vapor pressure will be only due to solvent molecules in pure liquid, fraction of molecules present is more, therefore vapor pressure is also more. Whereas in solution, when a non-volatile solute is added, the fraction of solvent molecules is less and therefore vapor pressure also decreases, is the point for this one which you have to mention. Hope it is clear now. In solution, vapor pressure decreases because the solute particles also come and acquire the place on the surface. It also comes to the surface of the solution and there that is non-volatile. It doesn't evaporate. Whereas now only solvent alone it has to do its work. It has to produce vapor pressure, or it has to exert vapor pressure, say. Then what it has to be done? It cannot escape more because neighboring all the molecules are present along with it which are non-volatile. So it only has to escape. So after this molecule escape, to its place another molecule will come. When this escapes, the other molecule will come. That is how it takes place. Is it clear now? Okay, just make a note of it. Then we will see further. So this next point you will write, the decrease in the vapor pressure of the solution, decrease in vapor pressure of the solution depends on the amount of solute. That is, decrease in vapor pressure of solution depends on the amount of solute irrespective of its nature. Irrespective of its nature means it doesn't care of which solute it is, but how much quantity is present is what matters to the vapor phase. Depends on amount of solute irrespective of its nature. Irrespective of its nature. After noting this, right, let me erase this. That means irrespective of its nature means if you have taken sodium chloride, if you have taken sugar, or if you have taken urea, or you have taken sulfur in carbon disulfide, in the same type of solvent, if you have taken any solvents, it doesn't mind which type of solute you have taken, but how much amount you have taken matters there. That was the point. That means, say, example, 1 mole of sucrose in 1 kg water. The other one, you take 1 mole of urea in 1 kg of water. That means you have 2 solutions now. One solution is 1 mole of sucrose you have taken and you have dissolved in 1 kg water. The other solution is 1 mole of urea you have taken and you have dissolved in 1 kg of water. Now, the decrease in vapor pressure, if you observe, in both the cases, it will be same. Why it will be same? The reason is the amount of solute you have taken. Amount of solute you have taken, if it is same, so the decrease in vapor pressure will be same. Why? Because the amount of solute taken is same, irrespective of its nature. See, sucrose has some other nature, urea is of different nature, but what is mattering here? The mattering thing is that only the amount of solute, not its nature. That is a point to be noted. That too at same temperature you will have to remember. Okay, it is at same temperature. Same temperature. That is about solids and liquids. Now we will move further with an important concept, that is liquid solutions are further classified. Liquid solutions are further classified into, this is another topic, ideal solutions and non-ideal solutions. Ideal solutions and non-ideal solutions. This is a classification of liquid solution. It's classified into ideal solutions and non-ideal solution. Liquid solution means liquid itself is a solute, liquid itself is the solvent there.